Hello, friends, family, and keepers of the faith, to another Del Boy blog. Yes, it's that weekend again. So, this is year 2 blog 27, or in legacy numbers, blog 79, dated 27th of August 2023. We're moving forward very quickly. We're now getting into September, and September to me, when I was a kiddie, meant the end of the summer holidays. I remember that the first week of going back to school was still sunny. I don't know whether that's going to happen this year. But within a week of going back to school, where we were supposed to be doing other outdoor sort of sports like rugby, because you wouldn't play football, it would be raining so hard that we'd do cross country running. Yes, hated that. So I've always booked my holidays around the bank holiday. And it's always because we tend to have Indian summers. We used to have that term, Indian summer, a late summer. And for the most part, it's worked out well. Not too bad, not too hot. You get that period of moving away from the summer and into autumn. And there's usually a lot of work for me to do in the garden, seeing the last of the flowers and preparing for winter. So, of course, I've got my next couple of weeks off from work, which I'm looking forward to. It's been a bit of a difficult time trying to do 5-day weeks when I had such a long period of time off. See blogs, I don't know, 1 to 70 for all of that nonsense. And so, I'm looking forward to taking a little bit of time off, doing some stuff with my mum, and trying to get my energy levels back up, and then get into the swing of things again. Now, you'd think, why are you taking holidays? You've just took loads off. But you got to remember that my work don't give me money for the holidays I don't take. And I've got still 40 plus holiday days to take before February. And when I explained that to a mate on the phone this week, it was Mainmeister. He went, bloody hell, that's like how many? What's that? Like 2 months? And I went, yeah, it's a difficult time. I can't get a break, really. But what's the option? Lose them, and yet I deserve them for working all of those days when other people were on furlough and working from home and all of that sort of stuff on less hours. I worked it all. I couldn't take time off. I was building laptops for everybody to work from home. And if those laptops broke, which they did every day, they would be returned to me and I'd have to send out a new one, profiled. The profiling was the bit that took up quite a bit of time, signing in as them and making sure the password was reset, and then arranging DPD to deliver it and then pick up the old one. And it was a cycle. And if I wasn't there, their laptop would remain broke, they couldn't work, and etc., etc., etc. Very difficult time that we're now suffering, even now, 18 months to 24 months past that event. And this is where I always knew that we were going to have a really bad time, because when all that money was being spent by the government, it has to be paid back. And then with the war and everything else, all we seem to be doing is spending, and we're not putting that money back. And therefore the interest goes up and so forth and so forth. What did we expect? Pretty thick if we thought that everything would just go back to normal. Money is not something that is basically just readily available. We borrow just like we borrow from banks. bit of product placement already. Just bear with me. So you can imagine that's a little bit of a start. The weather today is not great. I'm looking forward to the Formula One later. I'm looking forward to a break. I'm looking forward to Mainmeister's stream tonight. And all of my friends doing their film chats. And all of my friends playing games so that I can watch and see just how the game should be played, not the way I play it. So think of it as a nice relax with some working bits in the garden. And that's going to be my next couple of weeks. And it also means I'll probably be able to organise much better videos than just me recording like I'm doing right now. This is coming out a bit later than normal because I just needed to sleep in a bit and get my energy levels back up. I already had double vision when I woke up. Of course, I blame Rock God for all of that. His channel is brilliant, by the way, because he kept me up while we were doing a Basic Instinct talk last night. That can be seen, and I'll talk about that a little bit later on. And in all seriousness, it wasn't his fault. I'm just joking. I did say I would blame him. There you are. I've just blamed him. But we'll move on and we'll do this date stamp nonsense because I don't like the date stamp part of this. It's just done because I have to date stamp my blog. I have to be able to remember, just like a diary, what was going on. Anybody can write week 79, but if you don't know what's going on in the news, your memory can't adjust to what that was. It would just be like any other week. It'd be very generic. So, the war, we start off with that. I wrote down some notes. Putin's strongest line of defense has been broken by Kiev forces. Our goal is not... God, I can't ever read my writing. Oh, yeah, right. Our goal is not Robotyne, which is a place. Our goal is the Sea of Azov, the commander says. We have passed the main roads that were mined, so I'm sure we can move faster from here. So, yeah, there was a word and I thought, what the hell's Robotyne? I must have put that down. It's a place. Now, what we have to understand here is at the very early part of this war, it was very easy for the Russians to basically entrance Ukraine because they had no weapons, no help, no nothing. So they just basically marched forward and there was nothing to stop them. This, therefore, is a total territory takeover up to the sea, which is bringing back an area that was taken at the early stages of the war. This fits into that we're going to win this battle type thing, where I think the end of the war will come down by sitting round a table and talking about it and settling down and going back to normal that way with treaties. But we have to talk about the fact that the battles go on, missiles continue to get fired, shots continue to get fired, killing continues. And this one is the Ukraine positive side, the Russians negative, and I'm sure next week it'll be the Russians positive and the Ukraine negative, where they'll lose land, and it'll just go on and on and on, like a bloody seesaw. But let's move away from the war. The big stuff that was in the news was the obvious part that I talked about last week with the nurse Lucy Letby, was it? That's her name. I said to you in the last blog that the sentencing was on Monday. The sentencing did occur. And then there was a big discussion because this horrible nurse, or as one person in my blog, in my comments said, not a nurse, it's a killer in nurse's outfit, which is quite true. She didn't want to face her accusers, go into court and listen to the sentencing, which, according to law, is her right, even though stressed to do so. They can put levies on. Like you will get an extra 2 years on your sentence if you don't. But this person's got like a no chance of parole life sentence, so this person won't even worry about that, because add another 2 years to what, when I'm dead? It's like that. So they're now looking at changing the law to make sure that people do face this, because you've got to remember that that people want closure, and this person needs to address very quickly what she's done, evil or not. That needs to be brought to to her face, not listen in a cell to what the sentencing is, which is what she'd have heard it as, or from just speakers in the court cells. So, right, that was the end of that news, but the big news this week was about the British Museum, and I wrote this down. About 2,000 items are thought to have been stolen from the British Museum, but some have started to be recovered. On this news, the British Museum director resigned over the thefts, stating that while the mess could have been handled better, it's the museum records were not good enough that's causing the headache at the moment. So I dare say thefts happen all the time. Some people will say it's just you've misplaced them. You've got huge areas, and if your records are not up to date, you'll consider it gone, and then you'll consider it theft. The resignation, fair enough, if that person feels that clears the conscience, that it was his fault. And most military situations go, no matter what happens on a boat, it's the captain's responsibility for the staff and officers in his powers. So the director has resigned. I don't think it helps at all, if you see what I mean. Is that a guilt trip? Is that something where I take away all guilt, that it was nothing to do with me? Or is that actually admitting you stole them? Like I say, I don't think really that helps too much. But that ends the news, really. It wasn't particularly long, thank God. And so we'll move out to the much better stuff, won't we? I'll talk about what I've been doing this week a little bit later on, although you've had an insight. And we'll start out with the shout-outs. Now, as you know, I love the shout-outs. It's all these people that have wished me well, left a comment, even asked a question, which I love the questions. They spark my brain to go off in tangents, to relay things that my nephew and nieces that might watch this later on made me tick, reminisce, nostalgia, that sort of stuff. Plus, of course, stuff that's going on in me right now. So, shout outs, big thank you to all of these people. Paul Patrick, Roberts Retro Gaming, Denny, Ian Hill The Ramblings, David's Retro Gaming Played Badly. And I just want to pause there because his name was mentioned in This Week in Retro, so congratulations to you, sir. They recognised your videos and your collection of Hit Zone tapes for the Spectrum. Go and watch that, but I'll mention it a little bit later on anyway. Colin Thompson, Ponder Colin Jones, Seb's Place, Down the Rabbit Hole, Martroid, Steve's Gaming, Wee Bob Art. All of those people have left a message. Thank you so much. Maymeister gave me a call, made me feel a lot better earlier in the week, so I'll give a shout out to him as well. And we'll move directly into your questions and comments. Why not? We're moving along quite smoothly. I'm feeling okay at the moment. So the first one we've got is Paul Patrick. And he says, "Hi Del, enjoyed seeing those laser discs. I was quite envious hearing about your big box Amigas, which were the stuff of dreams as a humble A500 owner in the early 90s. It was always interested in reading about the video toaster in Amiga format and hearing about its usage in TV shows back then. Yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit later on because most people might ask, what did you use those big Amigas for? Why didn't you have the smaller Amiga? Well, there was no small Amiga when I ordered one. That's the first thing. It was a device that had just come out because, as I've mentioned before, I got a very early edition A1000. That meant that I was also looking at it mid-80s, where other people were looking at Amigas early 90s. Or late 80s, you know, I mean, they were quite popular from about 87 onwards, 88, somewhere around there. But I continued my line of the big box Amigas. And what we mean by those is not the A500, not the A600, not the A1200. It was the A1000, 2000, 3000, 4000. The business models. And those offered more expandability. And as I continued to buy Amigas, I bought add-ons like the video toaster, the Genlock, sidecars, more memory, accelerator cards, that sort of thing. And that's because I had as much as I loved playing the games, I was moving forward in creativity because I'd left school and got my first job. And so I was very interested in ray tracing, Mandelbrot mathematics to draw pictures. The video toaster just added to that ray tracing. The Genlock added the ability for me to put my video recorder into my Amiga. And you might ask yourself, why are you so crap then at putting stuff together in digital formats? Well, I haven't done it for a number of years. B, the Genlock was such a simple system. I only had a video recorder then. I didn't have a DVD-R, you know, a recorder to record onto DVD or CDs. So I would use it to put an overlay at the beginning of my tapes to say what catalogue number it was and all of that sort of stuff. Just simple stuff. TV was using it as a very cheap video editor, where I think it was called the Music Show, or it was on a Saturday anyway, where they showed the latest weekly releases in the pop chart, and they would use the captions at the bottom to say who the band was, the history behind that track, where you could get it from, all of that sort of stuff. So there was a graphic overlay on top of video, and that was, was that on Channel 4? What was it called? The music. What was it called? The Music Studio. It'll come back to me. It's one of those things where this is where I haven't researched your questions. I read them as I see them. But it was a great show. It was an hour long, and it was on a Saturday morning. We'll continue anyway. Have you seen any of the videos and news about upcoming RetroLink 4K upscaler? It looks like a truly amazing product for upscaling video from old computers and consoles to a 4K display. The upscaling of PS2 games look as it's going to be absolutely incredible. I have an XRGB Mini Frame Master, which I use on my PS2 at the moment, to upscale to my LCD, which does a good job, but the RetroLink 4K looks next level. The RetroLink 4K looks like it's going to be the definitive upscaling device, and would also be excellent for the upscaling DVD, VHS, and Laserdisc video. So I can see the link here. The big downside, though, is it's going to be its price. It's going to be quite costly. And yes, I heard of this RetroLink this week in particular, because it showed up in a YouTube recommendation. And this guy had got an early adoptive version where the case is going to change, but he had the design for a 3D model that he could print, which he did, put the circuit board in, and was then testing it. And he'd been testing it for several weeks. And it sounds brilliant. Absolutely great. All those people that have got oldish consoles can now hook this up to all of the many ports that this thing's got, and it has got SCART and composite and component and HDMI, mini HDMI, RGB, S-video, the works. So if this thing upscales to 4K, and apparently the big news on it is no lag, and you can bring up a menu and you can test that no lag, and he did that, and it was pretty true. It's going to be a great device. The thing about these early adapters is that it's going to be expensive because it's new. Until others clone it, bring out a similar product and all of the rest of it, the price of it is going to be pretty high. I think the price they quoted was 200 plus in pounds. So it's a damn expensive piece of kit when you consider you can buy a console for that. But if it's your hobby, if this is something that you desperately need, or it's something that kickstarts you wanting to go back and look at your old collection, because you couldn't bear to look at your old collection due to the soft images that you get when you put it onto a sharp LCD panel, go out and buy it. Absolutely wonderful. Apparently this company has made other ones in the past, something like the RGB 3X, the RGB 2X, and so forth. Earlier models, less connections, less technology, cheaper price. So I'm looking forward to hearing more about it. From my point of view, I use a Mister now, and I do still have old equipment, but I don't connect them to CRTs. So it's something that I should possibly look out for. I wonder how that would work with a Mister. Yeah, it should work. It's got HDMI on a Mister. You can buy a Mister with composite connectors as well, which hook to CRTs for arcade cabinets. So I should think this will do exactly the same thing. It'll only take the signal that's coming out of the Mister and basically double it, scan double it. So yeah, 4K on a Mister. Wow. Another usage. Thanks very much for your comment, Paul. No question. Thank you. And I'm looking forward to knowing more about the retro link. We now move to Robert's Retro Gaming. Just scrolling along now. Hey Del, I've been watching and listening for the last couple of weeks in about 10 and 15 minute blocks, which does not lend itself to commenting. As usual, it's nice to listen to you, your thoughts, and get your updates. Sounds like Zap was a mixed bag, but that's probably okay. Some enjoyment had anyway. You also made a legend cry, you cruel bastard. I knew this was coming. So that's one for the record books. Also, Atari rules forever. And you love a commode door, yeah. Okie dokie. And you played Starquake on an Atari when it would actually look so much better on a Commodore. We won't go down that route. Robert, as always, you've made me smile. You make me laugh week by week. I see you making so much progress in Minecraft. I get itchy fever to try and come back to it. I think about collabs all the time and can't think of anything. My mind's awash at the moment. For me, I'm ecstatic that you now live in your own home again, that you've got that space that's looking so clear, that you can now play the games you want to play in a much better environment for yourself, and that you're taking and you've got such great enjoyment out of what you do again, because it can't have been fun doing it from family homes or hotels or wherever you had to stay on a temporary basis. And you kept us entertained all the way through that. So my salute to you, sir. You're delusional about the Atari, but look, it's your niche, isn't it? You know I'm kidding. I have to put a kick in there somewhere. It has to be done. Thank you so much, Robert. Keep up the good work, and my salute to you. Then we come to Denny. Oh, I love Denny's stuff. Here we go. Oh my God, it's an essay. Okay. Hey mate, hope work has been less tiring for you this week and that you're keeping well. Sorry to hear the previous week was extremely difficult. Lucy Letby was no nurse, just a killer in clothes, and for many killer in clothes that for many comfort them through a difficult and stressful time in their life. Don't want to waste too much time on talking about her, but the management should be brought to task on this as well. Very true. Very sad to hear the passing of Michael Parkinson. So many memories of Saturday nights with my family, Nan and my mom's aunt, who for years loved to tune into his program. Emu, for me, has to go down as one of his best guests. Let's just pause there for a minute. Michael Parkinson, yes, he was mentioned again in the news this week because his son opened up a little bit about his dad, Michael, and said that he never considered his worth through all of his media duties. He always considered himself working class and not on the same level as the people that he was talking to. And what a sad thing to hear on that, because of course he was an intelligent guy. He brought so much joy to me, bringing those stars on for me to listen to their stories, their anecdotes. And he didn't keep it to just one subject, TV stars, pop stars, film stars. He brought scientists on and people that lived through the Holocaust and all sorts of stuff. I mean, a very, very good show, which unfortunately for him, the people that make these programs thought that chat shows had their day and cancelled. And we miss that because I don't like the way that, say, like Graham Norton does a chat show. I preferred his method, a little bit serious, but a bit of comedy. Not all comedy, crude jokes, bit of audience participation, that sort of stuff. It may be the way to do things now. I might be the fossil here. I probably am. But I don't remember much about Graham Norton's guests, but I remember Michael's. Does that tell you something? Don't know. Emu. Oh my God. Yeah, I remember that. Look it up. Rod Hull and Emu. Thing of the 70s. And if you can watch the repeat of Michael Parkinson and Rod Hull and Emu, do so. They're on YouTube. They're funny. Thanks once again for answering my question. 8 and 16-bit music is very personal to each individual. Yeah, I just feel bad that I just don't come up with very good answers to that. Music is very big for me. I've listened to no end of Sid tunes, but whenever somebody asks me a question direct, my mind goes a blank, and those thousands of tunes that were readily accessible to me to talk about just go, and I haven't got past that even with doing a blog. So yeah, I'm gonna have to work on that a bit. I'd forgot all about Farscape till you mentioned it last week. Claudia Black had amazing chemistry with Ben Browder. Yeah, and Farscape ended at least with a follow-on two-parter, I think it was, which was great. A thing that I think still could be broadcast now and watched, just like Doctor Who, but it has dated. I did go back to it on my Blu-ray set not long back, and I still saw why I was watching it, if you know what I mean. Your nostalgia can look at things and you can watch stuff and you can go, oh, I remember that bit, but there's also that bit that says to yourself, why did you watch that back in the day? And sometimes your brain can block out what you've seen, everything afterwards, and go, it's because it was the top thing back then. It's not now. Looks bloody ancient. But yeah, that was top then. Brilliant. I'm not fussed with signatures either, though I have a few. I'd much rather have a photo with someone famous or who I admire. Yeah, and I think the same, to be quite honest. A signature means nothing really too much in a memory. A picture of you with your art with the famous star putting their arm around you and having a picture and smiling brings back much more memories. One item that piqued my interest in your blog was the money box. That was a coffin, and Bony Hand came out to collect the coin. Do you remember the little magnet insects they used to sell in little plastic cases? I remember those in all the novelty shops in Blackpool with a magnet underneath moving them. Same as Red drinking bird known as the Dippy Bird. Those were all the rage in the 70s. Yeah, that was that little bird that was on a sort of like a pivot, and it used to dip, and it was supposed to dip itself in liquid and come back up and continue doing it. It was to prove a law, a physics law in gravity, how it works, like Newton's cradle. Brilliant. And yeah, I love all those novelty stores. I remember buying those. What were they? They were a platform with a spring and a sucker at the top, and then a plastic character that you used to love, like Spider-Man or Hulk or a cartoon character. And you used to push it down, and of course the sucker would lose its suction ability. It would start to prise apart. The spring would suddenly take effect, and it'd go flip like that. Amazing what used to occupy our minds back in those long summer holidays. Watched 2 films this week. Dungeons and Dragons Honor Amongst Thieves, which was seriously awful. I swear they're taking the rise, putting comedy into a D&D film. Prey on Disney Plus wasn't too bad, but done nothing of note for the Predator franchise. Yeah, couple of things to say about that. And you know me, Denny, I totally agree with you. I didn't think Dungeons and Dragons was brilliant. It's a popcorn film. Too much humour for me. Would much rather have something a bit more serious. They went along that route, and you have to like them for that, I suppose. The special effects were up there. The story was pretty woeful. Prey didn't add too much to the franchise. Probably not from the Predator's perspective. From our perspective, it was overcoming new technology with old. And Prey told a story or a little bit more of a tribe or a person of a tribe going after the predator using bow and arrows, spears, stakes, that sort of thing. So from that point of view, it adds. I see what you're getting at. So to my question for this week, do you miss the BBC programme Film, which starred Barry Norman? Were you an avid viewer? What did you think of his reviews overall? And finally, did you watch when Jonathan Ross and Claudia Winkleman took over? Wow, what a question. Bit of a nostalgia one as well. Let me think. I loved film with Barry Norman. Can't remember the earliest one, but I should think it would be film 77. And I watched it all the way to his death. Before his death, Jonathan Ross took over, and I watched those as well. Not quite the same feel. Jonathan obviously wanted to stamp his authority on it. Claudia Winkleman watched one season, never watched it again. And I'm not surprised it then finished. The thing about it is, I don't like YouTube video reviews much of films. They're not critics, but they act like critics. I'm not a critic, and I would do talking about a film differently, like my personal aspect on it. But a critic doesn't do that. A critic has got some set questions to ask, about the film, underlying messages, what the actors felt about the film, um, its important points, um, and then a few little bits and bobs about happiness on the set, how much money it cost, etc. So that's the way to do it, is the film series itself. Claudia Winkleman just didn't gel with me. Jonathan Ross is Marmite, and Barry Norman was just with me all the way through my childhood, and it was just, he was the go-to guy. And it's just such a shame that it died like it did. And I was heavily into films because I remember even as a kid um, they had a BBC question, sort of like quiz show during school hours, during the school period for broadcasting. Clapperboard. That was what it was called. I was trying to think of the word. If you thought I was sort of like going a bit double vision, and that is because I was trying to remember. It was clapperboard. And that was great. It was like University Challenge with films. Brilliant. Love that. I miss those days. I wish they'd come back. I wish the format wasn't tinkered about with too much. But we're now a YouTube community, so we have to live with what we get. Shame. As always, all the best, my friend, and send my best wishes on to your mum. Mum! Daddy's wishing you well. She won't hear that. I'll do that later on. That was just for your convenience. So thank you very much. Salute, Denny. Hope that was a good enough answer. I love reminiscing about those days. And that music will haunt me. That piano music at the beginning of the film show. Brilliant. Next one is Ian. Ian, the Ramblings. Thank you for the shout out. Enjoyed just listening to your voice. I needed some calm, no shouting. My head needed it. Felt like I had a hangover of life. I didn't want to hear constant moaning about things that really don't matter. I listen sometimes and feel amused and laugh and smile. Then I realize they are serious and like some child, they throw a tantrum. If anyone does not agree with them, what really sad, they are similar age to me. And I think, shoot me if I ever know that I'm better than anyone else. I may have more experiences than some, but wisdom has no age. Getting old can have many benefits, but when a mind is not exercised, it remains lazy and closed. So I see my trips into nostalgia a healthy way for my mind to exercise, and above all else, it's fun. Yeah, can't agree more with that statement, Ian. I'm glad that you enjoyed the blog. These, I realise, they are serious and like some child, they throw a tantrum if anyone does not agree with them. Yeah, you have to sort of like look back a little bit there, but it's this constant moaning that gets to me as well. I think YouTube gives people an outlet, a channel, and they want to do their things their way and for their audience. We have to respect that. The BBC, when they do a show, they're doing it for an audience of millions. They can't alienate anyone. So of course they will come out with those questions that help that cause. And thank you very much for that memory, Ian. That was wonderful. Then we get to David's games played badly. As usual, you're keeping me company at work. Halfway through a night shift currently. Evil women. I hope they throw away the key. Yeah, that's that let me. I didn't get my Amiga until 91. It's a shame, but I think a lot of people were in the same. They were buying these packs. Mark and Ray both have amazing skills. That's 20th Century Gaming and Ray C. that we talked about last week, and they do have amazing channels. Please do subscribe to them or watch them. They are pretty fun. He then said, yeah, but the Specky is the best. I won't go down that avenue. I've talked about it enough. The Spectrum is a great machine. It's just not my machine. And you make me laugh every time you bring it up, by the way. Always had pets, cats and dogs. Yes. Through our years, we've had them. We have a stray cat at the moment. So it's not really ours. But we loved our time with our pets. I think everybody does. Huge fan of the Vectrex. I haven't fired mine up in ages and must correct this. Yes, don't let it die. Trying to get comfortable here. Love the Laserdiscs, mate. Yeah, I love my Laserdiscs as well. I would never get rid of those. Good trailers. Thanks for the company. Oh, my pleasure, matey. That's brilliant of you. And thank you so much for watching and commenting and so forth. Love your channel. I'm hoping you come back a bit more regularly than you are at the moment. But I do love your stuff. Brilliant. Thank you. Colin Thompson. The size of those Laserdiscs. LOL. The movies are classics. Seen them all. And a great Vlog. Dell. Yeah, so it's because I held up a couple of Laserdiscs last week. Outbreak was one, I think. Trying to think what I showed you. I think Breakout again, didn't I? And The Replacement Killers with Chow Yun-Fat. Yeah. And Broken Arrow. Yeah. All great films. I watched all of those. Loved it. Spent my time with them. And the picture wasn't that bad. So, fantastic. So we move on now. Salute to you, Colin. We do another Colin, which is Ponder, which we all know. We love Ponder. He does his great blogs, his great gameplay, plays Sid music all through Sunday afternoon. Brilliant. Climbing the corporate ladder is something I've never aspired to. I was an instructor once, but gave that up when the responsibilities became almost on par with management. They recently suggested I should go for it again with the view to becoming a manager. But I'm at the age now when I just want to get on with it. I enjoy my job. It's paid well enough. Why should I stress more? Your experience is prime example that shows to me I'm happy. I'm truncated again now. To me, yeah. Don't tell anyone my birthday until after the event. It's hidden on Facebook, so that avoids most of the impulse wishes. Whilst you were answering my question on pets, Eddie jumped on my lap. He's a black kitten. Wookie Hole is in Somerset, England. Yep. Outbreak. We've seen what would happen in reality. We'll all be doomed. It's a sad case, but yeah, I've got to sort of agree with you. Okay, the question. Sticks hand in lucky bag. Pulls one out. Cloud storage. Do you use it? Do you have more than one? Are you reliant on it? If yes, how much space do you think is adequate? Good question. I do use cloud. Use cloud at work. I tend to find I put my stuff on a NAS drive, but I do put some of my videos in low res in a different folder, paid for independently and different, just in case anything gets corrupt. That's pretty much it. So I hope that's answered that question. Yeah, that's what your question was. Brilliant. I just have some product placement. Move to Seb's Planet. Great blog as always, Del. My pleasure, Seb. And we move down the rabbit hole. Good stuff once again, Del. Sorry to hear how fishes abound to you, but I'm crossing my fingers you're soon on the mend. I confess I don't share your fondness for the 90s. I'm more nostalgic for the 80s myself. Keep up the good work. That's an interesting one to end on because I have a fonder memory of the 80s myself than the 90s. It's just the 90s was an expansion for technology for me. I moved from VHS to Laserdisc, DVD in the space of that decade. And in the 90s, they concentrated mostly on stuff that had been brought out in the cinemas that year. They did bring out nostalgia stuff from the past, and re-encode it and give it to us. But my collection grew because I wanted the films I'd seen that week at the pictures. And for the most part, I wrote those down, and then when they heard they were being advertised as being released, I'd then order them. So, yeah, the nostalgia aspect of it goes to the largest part of your personal growth, and my personal growth is the 90s. So, yeah, totally get it. Martroid. Some really interesting topics covered this week, Dal. I remember having one of those money boxes with the skeleton hand. I loved it as a kid. Didn't we all? I think that was good. I'm so glad that I saw it because I'd have not thought about it. Definitely wouldn't have come to mind until somebody showed one recently to me. I totally agree about looking back at old retro games too. You got to take them for on their merit, as they were back in the day. Otherwise, you miss the whole point of them. Surely, and will always come away disappointed or bemused at best. I think that makes sense. Yeah, it does. I don't. We were talking about the Zap to the Past podcast, if I remember rightly, and in that podcast, they did re-reviews of Zap magazines and said, "What do you think about this?" Now, they came to Ghosts and Goblins, which was a much later episode, and they said that was a gold medal, got 90%, and it should never have been that. It should have been more in the 70s. In fact, it doesn't even have all the levels. The graphics have been all done, and it doesn't even have the proper tune from the arcade. And that's a perfectly okay thing to say, but it's looking at things negative for negative reasons, and it's looking at things from a point of view now. It's also looking at it from a point of view that when Elite brought it out, they wanted you to have it at home, but not necessarily be totally arcade accurate. You've got to remember there's limitations. Um, the Commodore 64 had at that particular time, programmers that were proficient but didn't know all the secrets. They were top of the line at programming what they could, and even they can't do anything about how much RAM they've got, and had to compress their code to the point where sometimes levels just had to go. The graphics could never be the same because you haven't got a graphic chip like the arcade board. It should never have been a gold medal. At the time, it indeed deserved its gold medal. You look retrospectively back and say in this day and age that it doesn't, but to say it didn't back then is wrong. It totally deserved it, in my opinion, of course. And I think we'll move on from that because I think if you look at the underlying message that I'm giving here, I'm basically saying that I love nostalgic reviews, but I don't like nostalgic reviews that look at things now, back then. So 2023 eyes on an 87 game. Looking at it as if it was coded in 2023. It was not coded in 2023, fellas. That's all I've got to say on it, really. So thank you so much for that. We then move to Steve's Gaming. Oh, I'm so glad Steve's left the message. We do my salute. Yeah, you bastard. I want to encourage him before I read this out. that he's thinking of trying to do some stuff on a different platform. And I have to salute you, sir, for this, because I would be nervous. And I think once you get past your nerves and know that we're totally behind you, watching and giving you encouragement, that you should do it. I do love your other stuff, don't get me wrong. I think you nicked my Steam idea, but I did it first. Okay, I called it random gameplay, but it's Steam stuff. Right? Love all that. Love your Mr. stuff, and I miss it more and more because I haven't seen a lot of it for the last 2 weeks. Because I was finding all these hidden gems. Now I've got no outlet to find these hidden gems. You've left a hole. That's what I'm trying to say. But you want to move into another area, and I'm totally behind you on it. I've done my South Live stuff. Not the easiest thing in the world. And you can get discouraged because it's like, what, 3 people watching? What's the point? But I have to remind myself I'm not doing it for them. I've turned my video camera on so you can watch me playing a game. In other words, it might as well have been the night I was playing it by myself in a darkened room because there's nothing on telly. And all I've done is I've left the window open for people to glaze at it. That's what it is. And if you get that in your mind, that's what it is. Great. And if you then see people come in and they ask you questions and that's great, because that's like they're behind you wanting to have a go themselves. Do you see what I mean? You've got to put yourself in the ballpark. Anyway, let's go past all of this and start talking about what you've put. Hi, Del. Great blog. Apologies for not commenting last time. I honestly thought I had. Yes, I'm an old fart with a bad memory. One thing I will comment on about last week's blog is that no, I've never been even slightly offended by your salute. I know it's meant in jest and I don't find it even 0.1 offensive. I see you as my mate and that's what we guys do. Thank you so much, because I must admit, silence can make you... Silence is one of those things where people can be comfortable or nervous. And so silence makes me nervous. Whenever there's silence, I talk in it. I don't like silence. I think you should fill your airtime with sound. Do you know what I mean? So when we're in meetings and they go around the board and everybody goes silent, I'm going, oh, they're going to pick on me. They're going to pick on me. And they'll go, you, what do you think? And I'm going, shit. Knew I was going to be the first one, bastard. You know what I mean? That's what's going on in my head. Hate silence. And I like constant flow talking. So, you know, basically, I'm that type of person that needs to have music or sound around me. So you continue on pets. We have a cat called Sky, and I absolutely adore her. And of course, she's utterly spoiled, and I love her to bits. Right, I have 3 things for you now. Ooh. Question 1. Do you have a picture of Rigsby to show us? Oh, man, I wish I'd have looked at this first. Yes, I have pictures of Rigsby. Now, on Facebook, I need to download them again for you to see them. I have them stored on external drives like this. I'd have to find them. Some of them are on my phone, but it wouldn't be great to show you that. I will make a point of showing some pictures next week. And I might add some of the bird stuff that's been going on my bird table, because I haven't talked about that for a long time. So you've got something specific for me next week, which I can do because I've got a week off. So that's brilliant. Question 2. Do you have a phobia? If you do, are you willing to tell us what it is? Only if you're happy to do so. I'll no longer tell anyone my main phobia, as I did once tell someone and deeply came to regret it. Okay, do I have a phobia? Am I happy to talk about it? I always thought I had a phobia. Always thought it was heights. But the trouble is, you get on a plane and I didn't have a phobia about getting on the plane, flying, landing, all of that. I was anxious, but not a phobia. Do you see what I mean? And I've stood on top of buildings and stood on the top of our roof that's above here, which is a flat roof, and I can look down, and I don't have a phobia about that. But you put me on a ladder and asked me to climb up, and all of a sudden I'm going, I don't like this. I do not want to be here. Get me off. Now, is that a height phobia then? Because I think that the phobia for that really is I feel unstable. I don't feel safe. I feel instability. The ladder can move. It moves from side to side. It wobbles with the wind. All of that sort of stuff. I used to climb trees. Never had a problem with it. So it's not a height phobia. So what phobia is that? Now, a lot of people have creature phobias, I suppose, is the best way to do it. Like phobia of spiders, arachnophobia, isn't it? Fear of scorpions, a fear of snakes, a fear of lizards, fear of all sorts like that. And it's probably because of the way they look rather than what they can do. Because no matter how much a handler will turn around and said, if that stings you, it'll be no more than a bee sting. You think to yourself, I'm allergic to bee stings. Fuck you. I ain't having that on my hand. So I've had tarantulas on my hand, and I've had one bite me. You know, I've got that little scar on my... It's there. To show it, you can see the little 2 prongs that I had. That was... what was it? It was a red kneecap tarantula that my friend had called Bella. He named it Bella because of Bela Lugosi, and Bela Lugosi was Dracula. And it just got frightened, crawling up my hand. There was a girl sitting next to me, which was his girlfriend at the time, and it was crawling up my hand, and she screamed, and of course that frightened the spider and basically bit me. But it didn't die, or it didn't hurt itself. It basically, I just went, ow, mate, it's stung me. So he picked it up, by the middle section, and then put it back in his hand and stroked it, and it settled down. It's just one of those things. Scorpions don't scare me, but what they can do to me does. So I can look at one. I dare say if somebody put one on me, I'd go, oh my God. But only because I know they're vicious little bastards. Like wasps and so forth. Now, again, I don't like wasps. I don't have a phobia of them, but when they're near me, I go, ooh! Because they sting because they want to sting. There was somebody who put up something that said, before you start bad-mouthing wasps, just remember what they're there for. And it was interesting because I go, yeah, to be quite honest, I've been bad-mouthing wasps for ages because bees have a purpose and wasps don't. Of course they have a purpose. It's just it eludes me when I'm thinking about them because they don't produce honey. They just look after themselves. They're self-righteous insects that I don't like. How's that? But I don't have a phobia of birds. But if you got a kestrel and said, and a glove and said, right, hold that, I'd be petrified. It's like, whoa, bloody hell, it can have my eyes out. Again, is that a phobia? No, I don't think I've got a phobia. I'm going to turn around and say I've just got a perfectly acceptable angst about things. I don't like certain rides at fairgrounds. I've been to the States. I've been to those flag theme parks. They call them the 4 flags, 5 flags, whatever. I've been to Universal Studios. I've been in those virtual reality machines like Back to the Future where you mimic being in things and they can give you motion sickness, but I tend to find that goes away. No, it's the things that spin you around. No word of a lie. In the in the 90s when I was dared to go on a... It wasn't called the cage, but it was a centrifugal cage. It was a cage where you stood inside the cylinder, it span round, and you were pinned against the wall. Not a cage where it's open-ended and you're holding on, and it's like a metal meccano spinning thing. We were inside this cylinder, and no word of a lie, it span round. And I didn't like it. I was trapped, and you could feel my skin going like that. But somebody around about a quarter of the way round was having a worse time than me and was sick. And if you've ever known what would happen in a centrifugal force about sick, depending on the speed, it goes towards the centre. And then as you slow down, that sick goes further out, out, till inevitably it lands on you. Similar sort of thing. The person was sick, instantly, out. And it was over 5 or 6 people. And then you've got the smell of sick all over you, and it causes all sorts of other problems. I did not like that ride. I did not like the feeling it gave me. I certainly didn't like sick all over me. And I paid like £4 to go on that ride to have a thoroughly bad experience. Now, what is my bad experience is a great experience to somebody else. So, rides, they're a funny thing for me. And again, that height thing, I'd feel much like I was on a ladder if I was on one of those cage things where you've got the cages at the top and bottom of them. There's a huge pendulum and they turn round. I have never been scared on the London Eye. Take it like that. It's all right. But that's an enclosed bubble. It's like being in an elevator. Enough of that. I think I've given you enough there, Steve, to tell you a little bit about me. You can now scare me to death, can't you? What's the last part? Now, a challenge. Oh, God. I'm thinking that all these cool things you buy, you leave them sealed. So my challenge to you is this. Pick a sealed DVD box and open it on camera. Take care and love to your mum. I've done openings. I did my Diablo 4 opening. I did one of my omnibuses, Marvel omnibuses. I don't do a lot of them. I did my Transformers 6 steelbook collection and opened them up and showed you all of what the individual cases were. However, you are quite right. I don't do a lot of them, and I need to correct that, and I will do that. In fact, I might do one in camera today. I've just had a thought. Okay? So we'll see. If I don't, you're going to see some this week. Okay? Might be my statues. Might be something along those lines. And Wee Bob Art is the last one. Great to watch along, Del. I will need to watch the Friday waffle about the Zap event. You mentioned a film which just takes place in one night, and it reminded me of a movie that I found really intense when I was much younger called Judgment Night with Emilio Estevez. We were talking about After Hours. I think it was just one night. I was flicking through the 4 or 5 channels that we had at the time and caught this movie by chance. It just pulled me in watching along, even though I had never heard of it. Have you ever seen it? And if so, what are your thoughts? Second question. Well, okay, let's go back. Judgment Night. Emilio Estevez. I've seen a lot of Emilio Estevez films. Judgment Night doesn't ring a bell. Judgment Night. Every time I think Judgment Night, I think Terminator. Don't know why. That's Judgment Day. Oh, I'll have to think. I've seen lots of films that happened in just one night since After Hours came out. Let me come back to that, wee Bob, because if it's an 80s film, like I think it is, pretty sure I've seen it. No, it would be a 90s, early. Yeah. From that point of view, I would have probably have bought it on VHS or tape. VHS or Laserdisc. Never know. I might have bought it on Laserdisc. We'll go to number 2 then, because the first one's a blank for you. Bloody hell. I'm not doing well here. Second question would be, are there any movies which you have just flicked the channel over, perhaps missed the first few minutes of the movie, but you find yourself sitting down and watching it, the full movie, and later you might see the first few minutes that you missed that night? All the time. All the time. Right? Happens mostly when I go to bed, when I want to go to sleep, and I'm flipping through the channels, and I see something that's just started a movie, and I go, do you know what? I've seen that so many times, I'll watch it and fall asleep. And then it'll be on again, because you know what channels are like at the moment. Repeat, repeat, repeat. It'll be on, and I'll watch it again. There was a spate during the pandemic that I think it was UK Gold or one of the repeat channels showed Waterworld like almost every week. And every time I was flipping through the channels, if it was on, I'd watch it. And I don't know why. It's not that great a film, my God. But it's like the music draws me in or something, or oh, this is the bit that's going to come up in a minute where that bloke's weird, he speaks with an Irish accent, or oh, this is the bit where Dennis Hopper's going to show his eye, or whatever, and it's only about 2 minutes away, so I'll just watch to that bit. That sort of thing. All the time, matey, that occurs. And it's the same with TV programs. Blackadder could have just started 5 minutes ago, and I would have basically have watched it, even though I missed the beginning. All that sort of stuff goes on. Only Fools and Horses is the same. TV shows like Randall and Hopkirk, I might have missed the first 10 minutes, but my own nostalgic brain and watching the program so many times fills in what I missed. Oh, I know what happened. God's sake. Yes, all the time, matey. Sorry to hear the week has not been great. Sadly, it always happens when we have exciting things on in our life of people visiting, and they leave. We are left with the anticlimax, especially if we've been preparing for an event for a period of time. Hope you have a better week this week ahead, and all the best to you and your mum. Thank you. I know we'll pass that on to my mum, and I've got to get back to your channel. I've got 2 weeks off. I'm definitely going to do that. Do you know what? I might even treat myself to a tablet. If I watch your program enough, I know that you use a particular type. I might do that. Yeah, I might. I've got to fill my time with something. We'll see. Yes, let's address this anticlimax thing. So the Zap event I've talked for 2 hours with Mainmeister. I spoke for 40 minutes in my own blog. I think people have come away saying mixed bag, and I think that's the right thing to do, because I didn't damn it. I didn't turn around and say piece of shit garbage, right? Everyone I met there was lovely. What I actually did there was great. It's just I built myself up probably a bit too much. And I didn't believe the camaraderie of meeting someone new or going there with people and having a chat was enough, because that was expected anyway. You see what I mean? Graham, who did Devil's Temple, and Jeff Minter were probably the highs. But the biggest high was Alan, Mainmeister, coming down to see me, because he so cheered my mum up. It was great to see him again after I left him in London, where the Queen had just died. And there's a big gap between there. And our relationship was up and down a little bit, which is why Blackpool didn't happen for me, along with other health issues. So sometimes I do go away with an anticlimax, because I always go away thinking, what do they really think of me? Am I good enough for them? Because I always put myself down. I'm one of these people that's not confident. And I always think to myself, I'm the weak link of the people that we're here with. I'm not here. They're not here to see me. They're here for the event. Where that's probably totally wrong. Of course he was looking forward to coming down and staying here, seeing my setup, visit my mum, do a little blog at the end on my equipment. But you got to understand, from my point of view, that's the thing that I think he wouldn't be interested in, because it was just the main event and he's only here for that event. But that's a problem I have, not him. You just understand? These are the things that I've got to get over. I've got to have self-worth. And to my nephew and nieces that are watching this after I've been in the grave, woo, by the way, I've left the money in the mattress. Your uncle has severe confidence issues based on how I was treated in my younger life. Now, if you want to talk to your mum about that, God bless her soul, if she's still alive, do so. My mother won't have noticed it, and she won't remember. So there's no point going to your nan. Your aunt. Oh, I can't remember what bloody hell. Yeah, your nan. So all I can say to you is that all my life, and including now, I'm trying to build up confidence. The knockbacks knock me back, but I still walk forward. It's just I walk forward with a limp. Best way to explain it, I think. And that comes to the end of the questions. My God, thank God. What we done so far. Over an hour, my God. It's amazing how I've taught for England. Jesus, I've got to concentrate and not go off in tangents. Watched on YouTube. Okay, what I've watched on YouTube this week, which with a 5-day week is not that much, but I'll read out the channels. You know sort of some of them. I encourage you to look at something different. That's all. Why not? It's beyond the norm. If you don't like it, oh well, 3 minutes of your life gone out the window. Go back to what you like watching, you know? So, we have two main stay points, which is This Week in Retro and Tech Moan. This Week in Retro was a normal show. Great. I miss Neil. Neil, I think, adds that bit of an edge to it. Adds a bit more authority to it. That doesn't take away from the other two co-presenters. But the subject matter has got to grip me. And the problem with it is that they're probably articles I've read already or watched on YouTube, or they're coming up again from something earlier on that I've already discussed with you guys. So here's one in particular, right? There's usually 3 things to talk about in This Week in Retro. One of them I've talked to you about weeks ago through Tech Moan, right? So here we are. They were big box game regrets, which was dismantling of your big boxes when you should have done so, because the big box is much as a nostalgia part as playing the game. And that was great. They showed people dismantling them, cutting them up, using them as CD covers, flattening them, keeping the manuals in, like A4 binders, turning them into picture frames, all sorts. I regret cutting up some of mine. Of course I do. 2, eliminate CRT monitors. So this is a follow-on from the week before where they said CRT is dead. They posed the question, did the tube actually go, or was it just the electronic boards around them? And can you develop a generic electronic board that you can attach to an old tube and make it work again? Great little subject, that. But I think you'll find that tubes do go. I don't think there was a 75% success ratio that when they're gone, it was just the boards. Something inside them does pop. They do have an electro gun shining at them, red, green, blue gun, and that etching can go away, and it can become smeared, etched, and all sorts of stuff. It's like watching TV with a Vaseline smear over it all. But wouldn't it be good that we could go back to our people that we sent our CRTs to be repaired to, and they said, sorry, mate, can't repair that. That all it was the board and not the tube, and that we could have it back and get that board generically replaced with something similar. Rather than accepting the fact that this guy's turned around and said, it's dead. It's got no pulse. So, what was the thing that I talked to you about and they just brought up in their own show? That was, what is the Nuon? If you remember rightly, Techmo was talking about the Nuon being a DVD player with the type of graphic chip in it that an Atari Lynx or a Nintendo 64 would have, and Jeff Minter wrote Tempest on. But there were only a few titles of it, and yet there were multitudes of this DVD player. Well, why bring that up? Because I've already read about it and seen it and talked about it 3 or 4 weeks ago. Excuse my coughing. I must have a drink. So, you win some, you lose some with This Week in Retro. But I mostly win, and I find it totally entertaining. And it's my hour show to watch on a Saturday. Which then comes to Techmo, because he's my half-hour show on a Saturday. So, are two BAO A1 speakers more than twice as good as one? Somebody posed a question to him saying he'd played on a Bluetooth speaker that cost 200 quid. And you compare them up with another one. And somebody had turned around and said it was better than just having two. It sounded better. It was almost like having 2.5 speakers. So he tested it. So he tried to pair up. He had to buy another speaker, cost another 200 quid. Just imagine how much money this guy's got to lay out. Paired them up. And then he explained why they sounded better as a pair than they did individually. And that's because you're splitting the audio sound. And the layers that would be in a right-hand speaker that would be better than the left. Less or more so. So you get a spectral recording. When it comes out of one speaker, then of course it imitates just those layers, but it's from one device with a certain outage, certain wattage, outage, etc. And therefore it's not going to sound as good. And then of course if you distance the speakers up, you'll get a different experience. Great. See how much you can learn, kiddies. So we moved to Seb's place. He did some more retro game hunting for the PS3 Move games. Bless him. Does everything for us, but also tries to mix it in with what he's trying to do with his family. And he's got a lovely little daughter, I think. And they like to play Move games on a Saturday. So he didn't have too many PS3 Move titles. So he purposely went out and said, let's see if we can find some. And he bought some, along with some toys and other stuff. That was great. I'm not that big on thrift find videos, but I understood what he tried to do, and it was entertaining, so I let it go, But his channel overall is great. Not all about thrift stuff and that. He will bring out old board games. Are they worth playing now? Battle competitions between certain games, between certain systems, which I've mentioned before. Great. Definitely go and watch it. So then something came up in my YouTube recommendations, and that was that Sylvester McCoy has just celebrated his 80th birthday, and he was reminiscing about his life in entertainment. And I suppose it's because some of the things I watch are Doctor Who related, and Sylvester McCoy was one of the doctors. But he reminisced about things that I'd almost nearly forgotten, because he was an entertainer in those children's shows that we watched when we left school and before the news. And he was in things like Vision On and Play Away and all of this sort of stuff. And I remember him being this sort of like mad person who played the spoons and mimed, and was sort of like an eccentric scientist in little acting skits to educate us on how on Tesla and all of that sort of stuff. So it was interesting to listen to how he did theatre, how he got into, how Peter Jackson employed him to be in his later movies in a Tolkien production, and so forth. A very interesting guy, definitely worth watching. It's about 15 minutes long. Brilliant. They were split into blocks, so you don't have to just listen to the Doctor Who segment of his life. You can actually see the other bits. 15-minute segments. I think it lasted about half an hour total, 45 minutes. Then Films at Home, which I don't mention too much, just brought out a piece of news that cheered me up no end. Apparently, and this is the big news story of the week for anybody who collects physical media, that Disney have done a U-turn, and they are now bringing out 4K editions of their TV shows that you can see on Disney Plus, and those are 2 Mandalorian seasons, and a season of WandaVision, and a season of Loki, and they're going to come out on 4K, normal case, and steelbook. And this is after Disney have said that they're not going to publish any physical media at all in Australia, and they've been cutting back on their releases of films. So it's a U-turn. And if it's a U-turn, then maybe, just maybe, others are not going to be quite so scared to also follow suit and diminish physical media. Which is why there's been so much speculation, so many people that collect physical media announcing this story all this week. And you've got to love that. And then I just want to mention about Chris Abbott, although it wasn't a channel. On Friday, he announced that he was going to, for free, to those people that bought the Rob Hubbard tribute collection of CDs and backed the Kickstarter for it, give another 2 gig of files that were never intended to be given to us. In other words, Rob's own collection of MIDI files that he would use to mix new renditions of his game tunes. There is also these forms in FLAC, in MP3, in Mega Drive format, all sorts of different formats, a tracker, and he gave them away for free on Friday. What a guy. I turned around to him and I thanked him for it, and I said, you've given away now your Back in Time CDs 1 to 3, and now you're giving us the working files that made up those CDs that we just bought. Thank you so much. So I want to do my big salute, if you're watching, Chris. I don't know if you're watching or not, for doing that. I downloaded those files. I'm looking forward to looking through them. I can now put those MIDI files into my Tyros behind me and hear what they listen to. I can even play them through the Mister on my MT32, my little MIDI expander, which I'll just show you here. There we are. That's a little MIDI expander for the Mister. And I can hear what they listen to on Roland, MT32 format. So, thank you from the bottom of my heart. And then we've got the film stuff that I watched this week, which is not, it sounds like an awful lot, but it's not, believe it or not. They take up a couple of hours of my time per week, but every single one of them has something in it that I love this week. So we've got Rock God 2004, which has an immensely good channel. Very much a character that wants to make you laugh, but also wants to show you his collection and educate you on vinyl, films, and so forth. And he did a video on vinyl Sex Pistols, which he did 2 videos of, and subscriber mail. Somebody sent him some more films. God knows who that was. It wasn't me. which he was very grateful for, showed lovely pictures, expressed how much it moved him to receive it and how much he was looking forward to watching it. And if there's any thing that cheers somebody up, is if you send a gift to someone, they open it in front of you. It's like Christmas Day. Do you remember where the excitement was watching, like your kiddies, or watching a very close to you friend of the family opening a present that you wrapped up, and their reaction when they see it? Oh my God, you bought me that! Oh, etc., etc. I then love to hear their tales, and it can sometimes make them cry because they're reminiscing something that gift has brought out in them. I'm telling you now, that's gold to me. It's like me losing blood and somebody pumping new fresh blood into me. That same warm feeling. Brilliant. Rock God 2004. Can't recommend him highly enough, especially if you love Iron Maiden. Scott the Movie Critic did a 300 sub special. Yes, he's reached a magic number of 300. And let's also celebrate Mainmeister, who's just now reached 4,000. Two totally different numbers, two totally different reasons on why they've got there. Both of them the same reason: we love your content and we love you. Well respected, well deserved young man. I wish I could do the stuff that you do. I'm getting better, but not to your level. Jake Talks Movies had a Splatter Film Sundays, which was brilliant. Talking about those types of horror films. Did you see that? Had many videos this week. Couple of movie reviews. I think he did an unboxing of a steelbook called Garden of Worlds, which was brilliant. Let's Get Kicking Movies. I think his name's Jake. I was on a stream with him yesterday, and we did a watch along of Basic Instinct, which is brilliant. Love that film. Any excuse for me to go on to a chat show and do a reaction video to a film that I absolutely love to bits, for which it has a magnificent music score. It's a score that just emotionally moves you, and you can listen to all of those cues and remember what the visuals were to it. Can't rate that score highly enough, and there is now an expanded score of it. And then on Wednesday we had film chat with my mate Pete, who was Pete Tendo guy. He holds one most Wednesdays, brings on some special guests. I was brought on towards the end, around about 9:30, I think I went on, because I had to look after my mother. And just had a great time talking about films. What more can I say about it? Any of those, watch them, please. They deserve your attention. Just have another drink. And then it's your stuff that I've watched. So your YouTube. Down the Rabbit Hole is first. He did a PS1 review of Gekio. I think that's how you pronounce it. Gekio, yeah. Which he went back to because he heard of all these different modes. And he'd only played the game one way, so he decided he'd play the other way of looking at these different modes. And he loved it. And from what I could see, it was great. You know, you had like a Game Boy version of it, as well as a PS1 and all sorts of stuff. So it's almost like, wow, I wonder how that game would be if we'd have developed it for the Game Boy. I wonder what it would have looked like. It was great. He then was given a Tetris keyring because he had something repaired by a person on YouTube, and it did incredibly well, and he showed off the repairs. And the guy gave him a Tetris keyring, and he reviewed the Tetris keyring. The only negative to it was volume really wasn't a volume control, it was a volume setting, on or off, which meant that the music was goddamn awful. It was so loud and you had no volume control. But then you'd get to the sound effects and you'd be all right. Trouble is, you had to listen to this 3 or 4 minute version of a warbly version of the main Tetris theme, which, don't get me wrong, is a lovely theme, but played on this device sounded awful. And then he did last night a Dungeons and Dragons board game thing called Star Frontiers, which he does on occasion, and talk about scenarios that happen during his board game setup that week, which he does every couple of weeks. Definitely worth a watch. Go and see it. Then we got Robert's Retro Gaming, and we talked enough about him earlier on, bastard. No, love him to bits. He did his normal bang-up job of doing a review of Tempest 4000 on Steam. Again, another person nicking from me, saying, here's my Steam library, I'm going to play some games. Bastards. Only joking, of course, Robert. My eternal pleasure for you doing what you did. He then played Spy Hunter on the Atari 8-bit because he played Spy Hunter in the arcade for a hard drive kerfuffle earlier this week. And then, of course, he played Minecraft. He played Minecraft Play and Minecraft Exile. The individual episodes for those were 88 for the Minecraft Play and 59 for the Minecraft Extra. Definitely worth a watch. Then we moved to Mainmeister. Oh, by the way, salute to you, sir. Mainmeister. He did his Watch with Mainmeister with Micro Live, which is always entertaining. And then he also did a Friday Waffle, which is a must-watch for me anyway. I have to sort of know from a certain perspective what his thoughts are and what's going on in the world. So, brilliant. 20th Century Gaming is up next, where they did some Twitch work, some playability games. Definitely worth a watch. And then Ponder's Retro Goodness did a, what's it say here? Dig Dug, yeah. Did a Dig Dug revival. So there was a game called Dig Dug Revival. And you play the arcade, as close to the arcade version of Dig Dug as possible with a few tweaks. And that was brilliant as well. And that brings us to media. I hope that was enjoyable to you, because you're now going to watch a couple of videos and stuff from me. So I'm going to get myself ready on media playback. Bear with me a moment. Oops. Where are we? Just move that down. Move this up. Oh, might have done that wrong. There it is. I do apologise for this. Usually I'm a bit more slicker. There we are. So I've got my media play. So I'll now drop down to media playback, and you can see I've got it all set up there. And these are the things that I've bought this week and watched this week. Now, I've only bought a couple of things. So a lot of this stuff is just stuff I watched on TV this week. Some of the enjoyment is mixed. Most of the stuff I watched, I really loved. Make your own decision from the trailer on whether it spurs your mind to actually go, yeah, I'll watch that film. Okay, and with that, I'm going to shut up and you're going to watch some stuff. Here we go.
Remember my voice. I do trailers. All kinds of trailers.
23, take 2.
One day they'll put me in a film, a proper full-length job. Until then, I'm just stuck with this sort of stuff. Go and see this. Don't miss that. The most terrifying thing you ever saw is coming to babysit for you tonight.
All right, cut it there. Look, just read what's on the script, will you?
What?
The script. Other way up.
Ah. Ready?
Yes, yes.
You flock to see brief encounters for the special
Close.
Huh? Close encounters.
Close Encounters, the film.
Oh, I never saw it.
Well, forget that film. We're on about our film. Time Bandits.
The what?
Time Bandits, the one you are supposed to be promoting. Remember?
You flocked to see Close Encounters for the special effects. You went to Superman to see a man fly. You went to Star Wars for the droids. You went...
Now what?
What's page 2, man?
It's under page 1. See? Oh, dear.
You went to Star Wars for the droids. Time Bandits can offer you much, much more. It's not the special effects, or flying men, or droids, which makes Time Bandits a unique cinematic...
Cinematic! You know, pertaining to the cinema.
Cinematic experience, it's the makeup. Yes, folks, you've never seen anything like it. Men made up to look like monsters. Monsters made up to look like men. Look-alike men made up to look different. Different men made up to look alike. No expense has been spared on the pan stick. No expense has been spared flying in the world's greatest makeup man.
Just a minute. What about the plot?
The what?
The plot. What the film is about.
Well, I haven't seen it, have I?
Haven't seen it? You're sitting there telling millions of people to go and see a film you haven't even seen?
Well, I can't see every film I do now, can I?
Oh, wonderful. Terrific. Look, give me that.
What are you doing?
Taking over. You're out. O-U-T. Finished. Kaput. Finito.
What about the trailer?
I'll do it. Time Bandits is an awfully good film. We have worked ever so hard on it. It's a tremendous adventure story. We like it, and we're pretty sure you will. What's wrong with it? It's direct, punchy, honest.
Honest. Honest. What's that got to do with it?
Going through with this until I know where my wife is.
Oh, yes. Your wife's run off, hasn't she?
She hasn't run off. She's disappeared, that's all. Time's running out. Why don't you just get yourself another man?
Because the office wants you.
What's so special about this assignment? Why haven't I been told who the Shy is? What's in Foxfield? Why England? Why Sunday? There's something wrong with this assignment, isn't there?
No one man could hold Celandine. Yes. She obsesses us all, doesn't she?
Bree Daniels?
One man is missing. 2 girls lie dead, and somebody is on the other end of the phone. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid.
Who is it?
Bree Daniels. Can I come in?
Come in.
Bree Daniels, girl on the brink. Somewhere among her clientele is a freak who murders call girls.
Sit down.
And a wholly incredible cop who insists her life is worth saving.
I don't think he's going to come back again.
I just don't want to be alone right now.
Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid.
What else do you remember about the man who beat you up?
Nothing. Except that he wasn't kidding, that's all.
But you cannot identify this man as Tom Gruneman.
I can't identify him as anybody.
Give me your hand. There's someone on the roof.
Did you like my friend Frankie?
Not very much. Hey. Your tapes.
Golly gee, just what I've always wanted. Dirty phone calls. Is Mr. Goldfarb there? I've got to talk to somebody. I'm just a little way across town. Can I come over?
Detective Trask, please. Hi, John Clute. He didn't take the plane. He canceled out. Well, I think this man killed Jane McKenna and killed Arlen Page. I think he drowned them. I think you should prepare yourself for the fact that possibly Tom is dead. But the only way I'm going to find out is to find him.
All right, fine. I'll notify the board as soon as I get to Chicago.
Hello?
Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid.
So we got 31 stab wounds.
What was it?
Ice pick.
I'd like to speak to Miss Catherine Trammell, please.
Is she a suspect?
She's a writer. She published a novel. It's about a retired rock and roll star who gets murdered by his girlfriend.
You know how she does the boyfriend? With an ice pick.
She intended the book to be her alibi.
You didn't feel anything for him, you just had sex with him for your book.
In the beginning, he gave me a lot of pleasure.
You like playing games?
Games are fun.
What's your new book about?
A detective, he falls for the wrong woman.
What happens?
She kills him. How's it feel to kill someone?
You tell me.
You're in over your head. She seduces people. She manipulates people. She's evil!
Freeze!
I have nothing to hide.
You playing a game here?
Games are over.
There we go. Now, those are the stuff that I watched this week. Just a quick note about Basic Instinct. I mentioned it before. I watched a Basic Instinct with 3 other people in a stream last night. And it's one of those films that tears people one way or another. Some people think it's just erotic. Other people think it's a masterpiece in the line of Hitchcock. It's a little bit of both. Some people also compare it to Fatal Attraction. I'm a big Hitchcock fan, so I look at it from the Hitchcock point of view. There are huge references to Hitchcock in it. Some stuff from Rear Window, some stuff from Vertigo. And if you watch it enough, you'll see them. They could be stuff that's going on in the background. They could be stuff that's right in front of your face and you're just not noticing it. And then you've got the intricacy of the whole script. But it's all wrapped up in one of my most favourite movie scores by Jerry Goldsmith. The score is just beautiful. so entwined that I can't think of anything else that would fit in its place. The pace of the cues are perfectly in time with the scene that's there. But unlike an awful lot of scores, it's one that you can actually take out of the film, put it in your CD player, play it, and it will be a piece of music like a classic composition from Bach or Mozart, or anything like. Hard for me to express, but there is now an expanded score. You can still get it. It's worth having. Beautiful score. And I better show you what came this week, hadn't I? We better do it on the right camera. Oh God. So switch camera. There we go. So another of my omnibuses came. Quite a large one. Miles Morales Spider-Man. It is the second volume. In other words, this is a new life for Miles Morales after the other 2 volumes that were before it. That one was just called Spider-Man. But it's in a different universe. This is more like the cartoon that's just been out. So it's like across the multiverse. Worth reading. Covers quite a few books. I mean, it says here straight away, collecting Miles Morales Spider-Man from 2018, issues 1 to 42. And that's just the first line of that block of text there. So you can imagine how many other books there are in there. Then there is Time Bandits, which is, just turned up yesterday from Arrow. One I remember watching in a glut of films during the 80s, because I really loved the film Brazil by Terry Gilliam. And I like Monty Python. A lot of people don't. But the animations that he did were great. And those were in Time Bandits, Brazil, and a lot of those films that were made by Handmade Films. So just to bring that up again, that's all the extras. So the new 4K transfer with that many extras in it. So I'm quite looking forward to that. I've already told you that I watched Basic Instinct. So this isn't new. There's my copy of the Steelbook of Basic Instinct, which is a steelbook. It's spot glossed and matte. There's even a dent and a crease look you can see when the light picks it up. He purposely made the glass break and show it on a steelbook. And the picture of the back is the pickaxe. Is the ice pick, should I say. A wonderful steelbook, a wonderful film. It's a 3-disc set. I don't know if you can still get it now. And this is a replacement. This is a replacement to a 4K box set that I never showed you guys, because as soon as it arrived, I wasn't accepting it in the state of the box that it came in. And it's taken till now for them to send me my copy. And it's now dropped in price, and you can still order it, right? So it's funny, because there was a guy in one of the forums that I listened to, and his name's Jake, who was thinking about buying it. And the eerie thing was, my version was set to arrive tomorrow, which is my replacement. And I said, if I was thinking about buying it now, I probably wouldn't. And the reason for that is it's dropped from £100 to £63. But when you consider it's only got 2 movies inside the box, that's still 30 quid a movie. Whichever way you look at it. But you say I don't do unboxings. Well, I suppose I'm still not going to, but this is the box within a box. So it came in a big box, had loads of bubble wrap. This is the box that the warehouse gets, which they took out for some reason and sent me it unboxed. Because when you open it up, you'll see it's in styrofoam. No, all of this was taken away when I've had it first delivered. There we are. I'll take the styrofoam away. And you get a 2-film collector's edition of Maverick. Okay? It's a limited edition gift set. It contains Top Gun and Maverick, some art cards. Let's have a look. What does it say? Maverick photos, decal magnets, dog tags, leather keychain, coasters. Now, what you have to ask yourself is, and this is what I did whenever I buy something, is it's £100. That's, first of all, so you put the 2 films together, and that means they're 50 quid each. Right? So that's expensive, and I go, no, way too much. Then it says it contains Maverick photos. Well, yeah, I can see the photos in the picture, and they look all right. Gloss. Decal magnets. Do you want decal magnets? Do you want stuff to stick on the fridge? Dog tags. So those are the things that you wear around when you're an army soldier or in the RAF or whatever it is that's got your name. Nobody knows whether they're good quality or not. Could be plastic. Right. A leather keychain. That's nice. I like leather keychains. Coasters. So you've got some cardboard coasters with pictures of the plane on it or something, right? I'll show you that again. So you can see the pictures, look. You can see the decals. You can see an awful lot. Is it worth £100? I was stupid and went, I haven't got Top Gun, but I've got Maverick coming in a separate steel set that's cost me 25 quid. And I've got 2 of them coming because one of them's got a lenticular cover. So now I'm going to have 3 copies of Maverick, but 1 copy of Top Gun. However, this is the big thing that a collector always has to do. And that is, this will be a limited edition collector's set with a different image again on the steelbooks. Which ones in the future are going to be worth more? And I'm not in it for the money, but I am still there in regards to my nephew and nieces who will eventually sell these on if they don't want them. And I went, I bit the bullet. But what I won't accept from Zavvi, HMV or Amazon is the way that they treated me in regards to the box arriving. Shall I open it, guys? Oh, go on then. Right, I'll open it. It's in cellophane. You can see it's perfect. Anyhow, here we go. There's probably, do you know what? There's probably an unboxing of this. And I shouldn't really need to open mine. But it's unfortunately a slipcase, I think. So I'll take it all off anyway. It's got no labels or anything to hurt. There we go. Yeah. So it is as I thought. I wouldn't have been able to open it any other way because it's a box that opens up like that, a magnetic box. So what have we got here? Oh, it's not too bad. Definitely spent some money on this. I don't know if you can see in the pictures, but you've got 2 lovely steel books, which you can individually take out. But there's this pull. I think that's a pull rope. No, hang on. You can lift out like that. So Tom Cruise, Top Gun, Maverick. There you go. Let's look at the Top Gun one because I haven't seen that. And again, right? Depends on what your feelings are, but it's a matte finish cover, and on the back is aircraft. That's it. I won't show you the inside just yet. In a nice presentation like that. Okay, nice. Here's all the other stuff that we were talking about, the stuff that does it really matter. So these are the coasters, and just like I thought, a little image on a piece of cardboard with stuff from the movie. The hard deck, Fighter Town, the hard deck again, yeah, Dogfight Football Champions. They'll mean something if you watch the film. Got a little cardboard inlay that I should never have took out. That was stupid of me. Let me pull that out again. Put that in nicely. There we go. And those go in there. What did it say this was? Oh, these are the photos. Okay, let's see if I can open these quickly. Nice little portfolio. Right, okay, they're all different sizes. And they are on film stock, so it's like you'd got them delivered from Kodak. They are quite nice. All a bit of different shots from the films. Of course, they look like photographs that just come off of a film reel from somebody's camera. Nothing fantastic. They're not like movie. They're not like movie lobby that promote the film. Perfectly adequate enough. So they're all different sizes, and you can see that they get better and better quality as you go further down. Don't want to show them all off. And then you've got, oh, these are the magnets. They're made of rubber. That metal back that you put on the fridge. They look perfectly nice. There's 4 of them. So I've never really been that impressed by the photos. I've liked lobby cards. So I was always thinking when this was coming out, do I really want photos? You know what I mean? Because I'd much prefer a book promoting how the set was and show you pictures of that. And then you've got dog tags. Oh, they're not bad. They're metal inside plastic with a keychain, so you can't really see it very well. But there's the beaded keychain. There's a plastic surround to it, but it's got a middle metal bit, and it's got an emblem on there saying you're a Top Gun. You know. And then they take it. This is the key ring. Oh yeah, key ring. Nice leather key ring with Maverick written on it. And that's it. 100 quid. Now, you have to ask yourself then, 63 quid, is it worth it? Now, much more attractive, I would say, at that price. Sure there was a string thing. I'll look at that later on. There it is. And, oh, okay, it's magnetically sealed. So it's got a magnet. So it wasn't lying when you look at the back of the box, but is it worth it? Is it worth it? And these are things, like I say, the collectors go through all the time. Am I going to be ripped off? And I feel with this one, yeah, ripped off. They saw me come in. 63 quid. Possibly less so, but I would have still said, Do I want those photos? Do I want that key ring? Do I want all of that sort of stuff? Saving grace of it all, haven't got Top Gun in 4K in a nice box set that now comes in its original shipper that the warehouse would have got it in, and that all the users should have got it in as well. I think that might have pissed off a number of people that have opened theirs. There you are, look. It's even got the proper number and everything on the side there. And that ends the stream. Collectors go through phases, and while every penny that you get goes towards your quality of life for living, you can do with it how you want in regards to your hobbies. I have a hobby, and that is films, games, soundtracks, mostly. You live with what you purchase, and as long as you've not shortchanged yourself for your quality of life living, buy what you want, you know. I don't have a regret buying that, but it just shows up how much things are and how things drop in price. It's always a gamble. That could have gone out of print, and when I bought it and I sent it back, it's taken 4 months, I think, somewhere around there, for me to get a replacement. And I'm pretty sure that I've got the replacement, and this is only a theory, that somebody bought it and then cancelled, and they had to wait for all the cancellations to come in to work out how much they have in stock for me to send my replacement. And the rest will then go at sale at a cheaper price. That's wrong. I should have had a replacement within a week. But the trouble is they probably oversold, and so they couldn't do the replacement until that came in. I'm not going to badmouth where I bought it from. I'm not going to say whether it was HMV. I'm not going to say it was from Amazon or anywhere like that. But those are what goes on every week in my life. And hopefully it's given you an insight. With that, I'm going to say, what a great week. I've really enjoyed doing this. I'm off for a week, so I might be doing a few experimental things, like building a few statues, doing a bit of photography, a bit of the garden, film reviews, maybe a panel or two with the films, playing some games, and possibly doing it live. I got a lot to do. So with that, I'm going to end this and say salute, and hopefully you'll stick with me. Bye-bye.